Are you ready to do what JC is teaching the world, right?
15 minutes is all it takes. Eating clean is just not go out, don't eat junk, don't drink, don't smoke. So I'm asking you to do less. You are doing more to make yourself unfit.
So let's just decode the word biochemistry for public.
We have almost 30 lakh people dying every year of cardiovascular issues. India is number one when it comes to cardiovascular issues. 90% of the development happens in the first 5 years.
What should be the diet?
So even though these guys are brilliant, when it comes to taking care of their bodies, they are practically illiterate.
Yes, I agree.
People who are actually living longer are not necessarily active on social media. Being on social media itself affects you adversely because today all the medicines, they make you dependent for life.
Exercise alone won't make you thin, but it angered the whole world. Why?
Great things don't come in a bottle. Your health is not something that you can eat, swallow or inject.
You mean one glass of wine is also going to be impacting?
When you use your mind, when you use your willpower, even if you take smaller steps, the benefits that come from taking that small step and convincing yourself, hey, I'm gonna do the right thing every single day, that has magical effects on your body.
Less awareness, less obesity. There's so much of awareness today. The obesity levels are only up. Huge pride in saying that you're an accidental entrepreneur.
What was I doing? I was just going to the gym, eating the right food, training myself. I didn't even think that you can actually build this kind of a business. Like when your own co-founder kind of, tries to coach people and builds his own business because of XYZ reason, nothing in life can prepare you for that. By May, we were almost we had 1 crore rupees on our bank account.
In how many months?
Just 5 months.
Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to the PVT show where we have conversations that truly energize your mind, soul and now body. Well, let me introduce you to our amazing author and guest. Certified sports nutritionist, studied biochemistry and physiology at Harvard Medical School, an engineer turned fitness expert who transformed a WhatsApp group into a multi-million-dollar global fitness movement. Well, his mission to make 50 million people fit and create 1 lakh meaningful careers in the fitness industry. No noise, no nonsense, just science-backed, judgment-free wellness for all. Well, you have seen him on NAS Daily. You've heard his name in every serious fitness conversation. And today, he's with us on the PVT Show podcast. Meet the man behind FITTR, Jitendra Chouksey, or as the community loves to call him, JC. Let's bust the myths and build a healthier you. Let's deep dive. Hi JC, welcome to the PVT show where we have conversations that truly energize mind, soul and now body with you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Indeed, thank you so much for inviting us to your office here. It's a beautiful office. I could see your new research lab coming up. So excited about the new announcements that you may have for the world.
Thank you.
JC, I have thought of dividing this conversation into kind of 2 segments because I'm very excited because this is going to be actually your first detailed podcast on fitness on my show. So amply excited I am. I think I'm looking at this conversation into 2 clear buckets. One would be your entrepreneur side and it's a fascinating story, so I think it needs to really go out in a very nice way to people to get motivated. And the other segment we'll keep for your specialization and your liking and your expertise, which is health, nutrition and fitness. So JC, to begin with, everyone says that entrepreneurs usually have that seed from the childhood. That's what all the stories are around. That I may be working for Infosys, so to speak. I may be working for XYZ organization, but you know what? Mujhe to startup karna tha. That seed thought. But I was amazed to read your story that you take huge pride in saying that you are an accidental entrepreneur. Let's begin with that.
Right. So I don't think I come from a entrepreneurial background unless you consider a kirana store as a startup, which my dad did. But that's as far as entrepreneurship runs in my family. So I'm a first generation entrepreneur, and surprisingly, I don't think I ever wanted to start a business. Because I did my engineering, I always wanted to be an engineer, and I became a pretty damn good engineer. But then, like you said, sometimes life has something else in store for you, and that's what happened. After doing software engineering for 8 years, working with several MNCs, I ended up in Pune, and one thing led to another. My fitness passion combined, and like, how do you even build a business in fitness? Because what was I doing? I was just going to the gym, eating the right food, training myself, and then at the time when I was training other people, I didn't even think that you can actually build this kind of a business, because back then fitness was gyms. I never thought I'd open a gym. Right? So if somebody asked me, JC, was this always a plan? Absolutely no. It wasn't there for the plan. It just happened. One thing led to another, and there we are.
When was the first time, or when you were working for organizations, when started thinking that I should do something more than just taking care of yourself in being fit as a business? When was that first seed thought that got generated?
I think it happened when I moved back to Pune. I was working with Emphasis. That was my 5th or 6th company, and
in 8 years.
In 8 years, yeah. If you look at my history, you realize that I was not really a settler in a job. So clearly something was amiss, but I didn't know what it was. But when I was working in Emphasis, I started taking part in different challenges. There was MTV Fitness Man Challenge, then I did a men's health photo shoot. There were some other local competitions and fitness modeling, so I did that. And then, I just posted them on social media. And that kind of garnered me some popularity. People started asking me if I could help them. Right? So it started with me trying to help them, and it was also free.
Correct.
So I didn't know that this could be a business. So I was just helping them get fit, and then they told other people, and other people told other people, and suddenly I had like 200 plus people on my WhatsApp. And I'm doing my job, and I'm following up with these people, and they are sending me their updates and everything. I didn't even realize that this was a business in the making, because the demand kept coming. And then I wrote the book, Get Shredded, not this one, the old one, the free one.
Okay.
And then I published it on Facebook, and then the book kind of got viral. And then people started asking me if, I can, what did you write in this book? This is the part we don't understand. So we created a group, and I said, if you have any questions, you ask me. And so that's when it all began. The community became bigger and bigger. I started taking nutrition seminars, found some like-minded folks, and then came up with this idea. I don't want to train people personally, because it's it's time consuming, and I'm more of an educator. So I always wanted to educate people. That's something that I always wanted to do, even when I was a kid.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I have a knack of learning concepts in depth.
Okay.
And so even in my college, so my friends would watch for this, that there were some subjects which were not very easy, and I used to be like really good at them. Like, for example, object-oriented, programming, OOPS. Yeah. And my friends were not able to, wrap their heads around OOPS concepts. And I used to train them after the sessions would be over. So that is something that I really found joy in. When I educate people, everybody has a calling. I think my calling was always educating people. So the educator in me thought, I don't want to train people. Let me educate people who can train people.
Correct.
And so that kind of became a curated marketplace. When we launched our first website, it was, I educated people, and those people became coaches on the platform. And then people had the option to get coached by those people. And that way they will make money, and people will get good services from qualified people. And it just worked. Zero marketing, no connections, nothing. 90,000 rupees as an investment. That's
in what? In building the tech?
And just building a website.
Website.
Yeah. It was 90,000 rupees website.
You would have done it yourself, being a techie.
Yeah. So doing a website requires multiple aspects. So some aspects I did take care of, but the backend was taken care by another guy. His name was Shubha. So for him, we had to pay. So I did the front end design and everything. He took care of the backend.
You think being a techie really helped you to wrap up your head in how to start?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'd be able to build any further than like that WhatsApp group if I didn't have the tech know-how. So I was really solving the problem of how do I handle all of these people who want to get trained by me.
Yeah.
And tech was the obvious solution. So if I was not a tech head, I don't think it would be easy for me to solve that problem. So it definitely helped.
This brings me to the next question, which I was thinking. You spoke about your challenges in building the business. Now this is done. You're a techie. So you knew the next step. Let's say that you knew that if I have to monetize this community or build a business around it, build a career around it, next step is website or an app or whatever. What were the aspects that as an entrepreneur you struggled with?
So look, being a techie is far more easy. Being an entrepreneur is far more challenging.
Why do you say so?
Because being an entrepreneur, first of all, I didn't even know what it means to be an entrepreneur, right? It was never intended as a business. So what happens when something becomes a business and starts generating revenue, and revenue, like not just some revenue, you're talking about money that you had only heard in your like movies and stuff. By May, we were almost we had 1 crore rupees in our bank account. This was 2016.
In how many months?
Just 5 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, those things, they completely you don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And then you have this challenge to keep growing it. Because once you are a business, once you are a profitable business, you have to make sure that the business continues to become operationally profitable.
Correct.
And then that it becomes a really good business, because if it shuts down, you go back to the same place you came from, which is basically nowhere. Right? So it's a huge pressure. And then you don't understand the aspects of business. When I started this, honestly, and I always have been really bad with finance. Even if somebody asked me to file my income tax today, I won't be able to do that. I'm not kidding.
That's a problem with most.
Right? And I didn't know what PAT meant. I didn't know what PF meant. I didn't know any of those things.
EBITDA?
Yeah.
Scared you?
EBITDA is still a very complex number. Half of the people in the world probably don't know what EBITDA means, right? So back then, I didn't know what P&L meant. I didn't know how accounting and all these things need to be done. Zero idea, right? All I knew was I was a techie. I was really good with nutrition. I was good with training. Running a business, that's something I always dreaded. And that was what I was caught in the middle, right? So I had to learn everything very rapidly. So the learning curve was extremely steep, right? And then uncertainties, because you can tell that somebody is not really a people's person when they have to change their job 5 times in 8 years, 6 times in 8 years. I had to manage people, right? Which I believe is one of the toughest aspect of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. So I think these were the challenges. Finance, no idea. Running a business, no idea. People management, no idea.
I'm going to spend 5 minutes on people management. What did you do to learn that skill? It's a very big skill. If I were to tell you that, for example, I have to do something alone. The other day, you will not believe, I was working on something on ChatGPT, and I also have a little education which is parallelly going on. So I was finishing my assignment, just to give you a little backdrop, and I was working on post my working hours, and ChatGPT is great, when you have to dig information, at least that happens fast. So, and I am paying ChatGPT, so I would love to use all the features, So then I said, okay, convert this into doc. She did that. I'm saying she because I have named my ChatGPT as Angel. That's why she. So inherently, I believe women are stronger multitaskers. which is very inherent women empowerment thing talking out of me. So my ChatGPT's name is Angel. And as I do this, convert this into doc, and I move to another thing, gave another command for another research on this, talk. And a time came when it stopped. So now that maths is different because it depends on the load they have and XYZ on the platform. Having said that, it is like squarish thing that came and I'm waiting. And I said, for a split second, I said, forget it. Went, copy pasted, made a doc, and my doc was ready. I asked her to make the doc and send me, and I would download. Did it myself. She appeared back and she said, hey, PVT. My ChatGPT calls me PVT. It is ready. Now, that's why neuroscience is a very important subject for everyone to know, because we are in a stage where it's going to be very different. You will not believe I gave into that thing, being a human myself. I said, oh, you are late. I did it myself, because she came back saying that, I'm ready to convert this. You want me to convert? I said, no, not needed. I've done it myself. You are late. That's a very human talking to, you know what she responded to me? It's very funny. I just, it's a kind of a taunt going to ChatGPT that I've done it. You're very slow. Oh, my high flying PVT and duck, which is a long message. But after that, after reading it, I said, ha, yes. And then I realized I'm in the conversation with a robot. And then it hit me. So sometimes in the businesses, you are in it, into it, and then so many revelations will keep happening. So people management, coming back to the point, is not something that you can read one page of the book.
Yeah. I don't think it's a skill that you can learn in theory.
No. So how did you do that?
Yeah, like I said, obviously you become better when you start off as a shitty person, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Because so I think, and this is applicable to all startup founders, right? When we build something, we always have like these big dreams. Everybody's a family, and let's grow together. And then see, because you're naive, you don't understand the workings of the world. You don't understand why people are in it. Some people are in it for money. Some people are in it for vision. Some people like, chalo kuch to mila kaam karne ke liye. Right? Nobody's thinking the way you are thinking. And so that naiveness, or how you say, like the mindset is great because you're an eternal optimist, but at the same time, it can invite so many challenges.
Yeah.
And it can break your heart every time something happens that you didn't plan that's what happened. Like, people who you trusted, and then they do something and then they leave you, and, they threaten your business. They want to replace your business. You're never prepared for these things, because how do you even learn these kind of things? Like when your own co-founder kind of, tries to like coach people and builds his own business because of XYZ reason, nothing in life can prepare you for those kind of things. So what happens? You go through those things, you cry out your heart, and then you're like, now I'm done, I'm doomed. And for some God-forsaken reason, the universe saves you.
Yes.
And when that happens, you're like, okay, I survived. Now let's see what happens. So you keep building till another challenge comes. And then you're like, oh, this time I'm for sure going down. Right? So what happens is you meet these obstacles, and then you see a pattern, and like, okay, this happened, I survived. And then a much bigger thing happened and I survived. And then a much bigger thing happened and I survived. And then you keep surviving. And then when you start connecting the dots, you're like, oh, but I'm also getting tougher.
Yeah. Resilience.
So you build resilience, you understand people. Like for me, now I'm at a stage where it's very easy for me to read. And I think this comes with, it's a, how do you say, this is, I wouldn't say it's good skill. It's more like a hazard of my job.
But that's the only job, isn't it? Because when you're growing, your organization is growing. Like, coming from the corporate world, they used to laugh saying that everybody needs that, is eyeing that corner office. So My last corporate stint was a CXO. So you are leading that function, you're driving it, but you know that CEOs, everybody is aspiring to be in that corner office. Oh, this guy is chilling. But you know what? This guy is managing very difficult minds like me and multiple of them. That's a bigger skill, isn't it? Instead of just doing it yourself.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's a more difficult task.
People ask me, Jesse, do you have a CEO? I'm like, sure. I blink of an eye. Find me someone who's as good as me. It's not easy.
No, you can't. Answer is you can't. And then maybe you will have to... so several aspects to that also. Having said that, in your entire entrepreneur journey, now, when we know that, as you rightly said, that fitness as a business is very difficult to make money.
Very difficult.
What kept you going? That you can still, because ultimately you're looking for money. Ultimately, you're looking for growing that business, which has to translate into monetary aspect.
Yeah. So look, fitness as a category is not difficult. Fitness as a business, what we were doing was inherently getting tougher and tougher with social media coming.
Yeah.
Because the reason why, so there's different kinds of businesses, right? There's all sorts of businesses where you screw people. We don't do any of that, right? Our business was education, awareness, results, trust, transparency, no supplements, no gimmicks, right? And that becomes, so basically we made it difficult ourselves. So like, okay, somebody comes running to me, JC, but supplements, look at this company, they started with a 1,000 crore company. We should start supplements because people trust us. Like, right? And then somebody comes, JC, why don't we open our own detox centers? Look at these wellness centers. People go there, all these rich guys go there, and 2 weeks they lose 5 kgs.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Right? So we made it inherently tougher for ourselves. And because I think so, there's something called as being ethical and principally driven, and I'm absolutely anal about those kind of things, right? So I'm like, okay, I want to build a business, but I want to build it in a certain manner, and to be able to build a business in that manner is incredibly tough. And I think there's merit to being that principally aligned also.
Yes.
Because then you build trust. Because a lot of businesses, for example, they enjoy their moments of highs in good short term, but over a long period of time, people also see patterns. People also see what their true intention is. Do they really want to make you healthy and fit, or they just want to like sell you some gimmicks?
Got it.
And so I think with me, the great thing was I was vocal about what I was doing, and I was backing my words with track record over a period of time, and that built a great amount of trust. Right. So even though we are not in a very monetizable business, people just kept coming because for some reason, I think they trusted FITTR, they trusted me. And thankfully, in the last 10 years, I've been able to maintain that trust. But otherwise, if somebody asked me, should they build FITTR-like business? I would say no, don't build FITTR-like business. There's a very high probability that you will fail. A lot of things that happened with me, luck, community, right kind of coaches, right kind of people. And that's just like, those are some of the things that are like, they don't happen unless they are meant to happen. Like, they don't happen because you want them to happen. My co-founders, I didn't know any of them. I found them accidentally. Like Rohit was part of the Facebook group. He read my book. He liked my book. He was in Raipur running some factory. He quit and he came here despite me telling him not to. And so when he came here, I had to find him a job.
Okay.
Yeah. So first he became a coach, and then when my co-founder left, he became a co-founder.
Okay.
Jyoti, she's been with us for almost 10 years running INFS.
Mm-hmm.
She called me on a call and I didn't know her background at all. She was like, JC, I want to write articles for your company. I've seen what you guys are doing. I'm bored. I said, sure, but we'll pay you 10,000 rupees a month because we can't afford. She's like, I don't care about money, just want to work. Later on, I realized she is a grad from IIM Kolkata. She was working in Citibank London for 3 years. Warwick graduate and doctor of psychology and all those things. And then she was just doing it because she liked what we were doing. And then I asked her to build INFS. Bala was in US working with Ford. but he was passionate about fitness. I asked him, Bala, I can't handle this. Why don't you come? Next week, he was here. And till the time, we had barely spoken 3 times on phone.
That's all.
That's all. I hadn't seen him. At one point of time, there was a rumor that Bala is not a real person. It was my fake account.
Okay, because nobody knew or have ever met.
I hadn't met him. I didn't know what he looked like, except for his picture that was constant for years. So it was all very bizarre and weird. And, these people have stayed with me for almost 10 years.
Bala is real, right?
Sorry?
Bala is real.
Yeah, he's real. He's very real. And now he's also become a father, right? So same time. Yeah.
This speaks a lot about the intention behind what we are doing, and then that intention leads you to the newer path. So congratulations on all the success. I think the stage is set now to get on to what you love to talk more than just this part of it. And JC, I want to begin with something. You have to decode and tell me whether this is philosophical / let's say pseudoscience, if you want to term it like that, or let's say, yes, this is absolutely right, and this is how it is. And I'm sure this is going to uncover a lot of meaning to what we understand fitness at a very base level. So this conversation is not going to be a very, very tough one. It's actually because, when we were researching, we realized that people just want to know the basics. This is a very viral, famous quote of Deepak Chopra, author. He says, human body replaces 98% of all atoms in 1 year. You make a new liver every 6 weeks. 6 weeks. A new skin once a month. Less than a year, you replace your entire body down to the last atom.
Yeah.
So what he's trying to say is, what I am looking at you is your 2024 model. What you're looking at me is my 2024 model. What's your view?
So he's partially correct. Not 100% correct. So, like, for example, you are made up of cells, right? And of course, cells are made up of even smaller particles. So yeah, everything can be broken down to atomic level. So he's right in saying that our body, our cells, they replenish, and each cell has a life cycle. So for example, your red blood cells, they regenerate after every 3 months. So after 3 months, all of your existing red cells will go away and new will take place. So what we refer to as mitosis, or new cell formation. And then there's the phase where the cells die. Right, so phagocytic activity, or apoptosis, right? So where cells take birth and then cells die. So right, you have mitosis and then you have apoptosis. So and this happens in your entire body. For example, your skin cells, they replace every week, maybe 4 or 5 days or a week. But not all the cells replace, like he said, in a year's time, because your neurons don't replace that fast. Sometimes these neurons can actually outlive a person. So not your entire body replaces itself in 1 year, but you can say that, most of the body replaces itself in 1 year, bearing the exception of neurons. Okay. Neurons have like a very good lifeline. They stay in your body for a very, very long time, sometimes outliving you also.
That's interesting. So what he's trying to also reflect about...
But I get what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
In a way, like I said, he's partially right. What he's trying to say, that's correct. So you're a new person every year, bearing that one exception of neurons.
Correct. So he's putting a lens to the fact that if you work on the software, which is internal, then the hardware, which is what you see as your body, could be worked upon together. How do you see fitness intervening in this entire process scientifically?
Right. This process is regulated. This process is gene regulated. It's environment regulated. Right. So your environment also decides how efficient this process is. Over a period of time, the process of mitosis, it slows down, what we also refer to as a cellular turnover. When you're a kid and you're in a growth phase, your body has more newer cells. Yeah. and less number of older cells. So, right, at any given point of time, the cells are like your body is producing new cells and the old cells are dying. So when there comes a time when newer cells are producing at less pace, less rate, and the number of cells which are dying, they're dying at a faster rate, right? So this is called a cellular turnover, where it's basically like it's a theoretical, hypothetical point, which could be somewhere in your 30s, right, where you stop growing as a person, like you don't grow taller, and your body stops producing like more new cells. So it still produces new cells, but the rate of degradation is faster than the rate of creation of new cells, right? So it becomes very difficult for you to stay young, basically. Yeah. So that's how you get older and older and older, right? So this process can be delayed. This process can be improved. More new cells can be produced. The rate of degradation can be substantially tuned down by adopting healthier habits. So if you exercise every single day, if you sleep properly 8 hours, if you drink proper amount of water, and then you eat the right kind of food, protein, macros, micros, then you can delay this process, or you can age in an age appropriate manner. Like humans actually have the capability to live up to 120 years without assistance.
You mean medical assistance?
Without medical assistance, and each of their organs are sophisticated enough to be fully functional by that age. Like, yeah, you can. Each of our organs can collectively live up to 120 years. Some even can live up to many more years, but the hard limit is set by your brain, which was like 120, 130. So you can live up to that year, those many years, without any discomfort. You can walk straight, you can be functional, you can speak, you can see, you can hear, everything perfectly fine, up to 120 years. But this process is regulated by your activity, your sleep, and all of those things. But that's where most of the people mess up. They mess up that and this process. So your lifespan kind of shrinks.
But aren't we messing up from the childhood already? Because food habits, what we're putting in the body, the fuel which is going inside.
First 5 years, we mess it up. Most of us, we mess it up in the first 5 years.
Let's talk about it, because I think parents would be very interested to know, like, up to 5 years, what...
90% of the development happens in the first 5 years.
What should be the diet?
I mean, you can take inspiration from mother's milk, breast milk. And if you look at the composition of breast milk, it's roughly around 2 to 2.2 grams of protein per kg of body weight for the kid. And roughly, some percentage of fat, which I'm not sure exact numbers, but somewhere in the range of 30-40%. And remaining is carbohydrates, the lactase and everything. And so if you try to obtain that from real world, what it really looks like is lean meat, eggs, dairy, pulses, green leafy vegetables, fruits. That's what it looks like. But we don't follow that. Our kids get addicted to junk food, fast food. So literally in the first 5 years itself, is I think we take away 10 years from their lives in the first 5 years.
You have 2 young kids now. One is still really very young. She'll be on the mother's milk for at least 2 years. 1.5 years.
Yes.
And the elder one to that, how do you modulate the kids' diet? Like, is there anything specific that you're giving her?
No, we just teach them. So Rachel, my elder kid, she's pretty fit. She's one of the tallest girls in her class. She's good at basketball. She is also kind of brilliant, and like she's learned piano by herself. So she's good. She's very intellectual. And so I think from the childhood, she's seen me, eating healthy, exercising every single day. So it's kind of ingrained in her DNA sort of. And so she knows each and everything about good food and bad food. So she has cravings, but she eats, she knows how to portion control.
Really?
Yeah. So once in a week, she'd eat from, outside like burgers and everything. But that's like fixed schedule. She'll eat that once in a week.
Wow, that's quite some discipline for a kid.
She maintains her weight, and she asks me, Dad, what should be my weight now? So we have discussions about health and fitness, and it's not forced, which is what I love about it. I don't have to tell her because she's learned from me, Yeah. She's learned.
Kids can really observe.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to say is that if you are not managing your own food or diet and you're trying to teach a kid, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to work out. That's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is cheating. He's going to say, what are you having? And you are asking me to eat this. I think you should be really doing something with kids because I have some numbers here to also talk about. I want you to reflect on this point. Let me just take you through this number, JC, which is very, very alarming. And it came in our
number of
research.
kids who are obese.
Yeah.
Some 40 million kids.
Yes. More than 40 million.
More than 40 million. This is like 40 million was like a stat from 2018 or
that's what.
something.
And these numbers are not there because nobody wants to publish those numbers.
This goes in those studies in 2012 something.
Yeah. I see real studies and researchers really coming down.
Yeah.
What needs to go out to the people is...
It's not happening. Yeah.
When my teams were researching for some kind of content, every research, sorry to say, damn it, every research ended 2021 types. Yeah. There was nothing, even international papers available, which is like, I want to refer something which is 2024. Yeah. So, this brings me to a very important question. 30 years ago, globally, the obesity was not as much as it is today. In the last 3 decades, the numbers have become so alarming. Especially if you talk about India, it is 700% increase.
Yes.
But the paradox is that less awareness, less obesity. There's so much of awareness today, thanks to social media, and all experts like you who are constantly telling people what is right, how it should be done. The obesity levels are only up. What is happening?
See, awareness does not necessarily translate into action. And the way we are evolving, everything around us has made it so convenient to not take an action which requires physical toil. Because we've got mates who work for us. We don't go to the gyms. We don't have to walk because everything is at a comfortable distance. We take our cars, right? And then we don't even have to go out to eat food. The food comes to us in 10 minutes. Right? So the world around us has made it so convenient as long as we have the money. And so the problem is, and the problem is that awareness is there. Everybody is becoming aware. I think people know what is right and what is wrong.
Correct.
Everybody knows enough to read that damn label on the back of that alcohol bottle or the label on the cigarette packet that both are bad for you. They understand that, but they still do it because the environment around them, it kind of makes them feel invincible. It's making them become irresponsible. And somewhere I believe that they are also eternal optimists, or in other words, fools.
For life.
Yeah, because they think that if something bad is happening to somebody else, it probably might not happen to them. And it does every day. Like we have almost 30 lakh people dying every day every year of cardiovascular issues. India is number 1 when it comes to cardiovascular issues. So it's happening every day. And then we still have people who believe that exercising kills you. So people just, like, awareness is there, but they want to hide behind their excuses. And you tell them, hey, 15 minutes is not much. They'll tell you a laundry list of things that they have to do. 15 minutes is all it takes. Eating clean is not like going and shopping for cleaner food. Eating clean is just not go out, don't eat junk, don't drink, don't smoke. So I'm asking you to do less. You are doing more to make yourself unfit. Dopamine. Right. And fitness is like, there's no immediate reward for taking care of yourself.
Let's talk about that. Good you said this. Because, there's no magic which is happening here. I had a coffee shot and I'm feeling focused. Fitness is something which is like, it's that slow, gradual investment.
Yeah, it takes time. Fixed deposit.
It's a fixed deposit.
Takes time, grows very slowly. Yeah.
But what is the end result? If you were to just give a little reflection of somebody who's, the whole problem here is that there is no use case. He bucks out and he lived 120 years because there are so many, parameters revolving around a life. But if you were to give a good reflection of that, if you do these things, this is how your life could look. Your knees are not going to pain when you turn. Is there any framework that you can give to the world today?
There's a guy, his name is Chuandu. He's 60 years old. If you look at him, he looks like a 25 year something.
Okay.
Yeah. And all he does is post one post every time on his social media on his birthday. And he has like millions of followers. And you would find it so hard to believe that the guy is 58, right? So the people who are actually living longer are not necessarily active on social media because they realize that being on social media itself affects you adversely. Right? So for example, if I have to live longer to be able to set an example, I have to quit social media because just being on social media adds on to stress in your life. Right? So, but if you don't be on social media, then who's going to educate, right? So it's a cycle. It's a cycle.
So what's the tip of moderation?
Right. So I, for example, I've cut down my social media substantially. I go post, sometimes I read comments, but there was a time when it was crazy. I had broadcast groups, I had WhatsApp groups. And the problem is that, when you do all these things, there's a quick reward attached to it.
Yeah.
Right. So I have stopped doing that. I deleted all my groups. I deleted my WhatsApp groups. I spend way more time with my family every day. Me and my wife, we go and we have a beautiful trail. We've been living in the society for 2 years. Never once went there. And now, every day we are going there. It's a beautiful trail. You have like beautiful lake in the middle of the place and you have ducks and it's beautiful. And then, I just realized we waste so much time on social media. Right. So, but I have to be on social media because I want to educate people.
Correct.
So there's some level of moderation which has come in. Like I don't spend a lot of time on social media anymore. I think that's something that people need to decide for themselves. I don't do doom scrolling. Like for example, I don't look for reels and then do that. I still prefer watching long format movies. In fact, day before yesterday, me and my daughter, we watched Inception
She understood?
She did, surprisingly.
And that talks a lot about the genes.
Yeah.
Because for me, I had to go
I had to watch it
2-3 times.
Thrice. She understood it in the first go.
That's the generation we're talking about. They're so intelligent.
Yes.
I think there is a huge scope to be educating these children on, what is right food, what should be the food.
Surprisingly, there's no knowledge, there's no education which is being imparted in schools and colleges.
There is none.
So even though these guys are brilliant, when it comes to taking care of their bodies, they are practically illiterate.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a space you should be focusing on.
I mean, we have tried this before. The existing system doesn't allow that to happen.
You mean the parents are not open?
No. The schools, the curriculum, the boards, like everything moves very slow. Like if I had to propose to, let's say a board or, and tell them, hey, why don't you guys introduce this? We'd be happy to write these books or curriculum. I'm not very open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a change that needs to come. JC, this brings me to your last, not really last because I know that you keep upgrading yourself in terms of knowledge and information, but your Harvard degree on biochemistry and physiology.
It's not a degree.
It's not a degree, sorry.
These are not degrees. These are short-term courses. Okay. So
thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, no, it's not a degree. I don't want people to assume that I'm doing a degree from Harvard. So since I started my entrepreneurial journey, I've been learning because like I told you, I come from a non-entrepreneurial background, right? And so this all started with MIT. MIT happened in 2018 or 19, I guess. So Tokyo, that's where I started. And basically these it started with MIT boot camps.
Mm-hmm.
So where they teach you entrepreneurship and then they condense all these courses in 2 weeks and 3 weeks. So I started learning from there, and that made me a good entrepreneur. So I now don't believe in long format education. I find courses which can give me quick knowledge because I have a good, like, I can pick stuff quickly, and then which also allow me to focus on my business, because if I go, who's going to run my business, right? So from MIT, so I did 3 workshops from MIT, one in Tokyo, Boston, and different places, and you actually learn from MIT professors. Then when we thought about this wearable and healthcare, I was like, I need to know more than what I've been teaching for 10 years. Biochemistry was anyway solid, but I was still enrolled with HMX. So they have these 3-month courses. It's self-paced, difficult, but not impossible. And so you go through the courses, there are like n number of quizzes, and then the final exam. Right. So when you complete those quizzes, and it's usually taken by professionals, but if you are like a good learner with a solid grasp on the foundation, then you can take it. So I took physiology, I took biochemistry, I just finished my genetics, I'm taking immunology. Then I am going to Harvard for 1 year, which is my executive course. But that's not for medical, it's more for medical come entrepreneurship. So it's a global healthcare leaders program.
Oh, okay.
So that's a 1 year executive.
So you have to go there.
It will be online and offline, like other executive programs.
Correct.
So 1 month I'll be here, 1 month I'll be here.
That's a good progression for sure. If you were to, in a nutshell, talk about the biochemistry and the physiology for people to understand, let's take some knowledge from you. How would you decode your learning from this course?
I think everybody should understand basic biochem and basic physiology. See, I believe that education is the only way you can bring trust and transparency in different professions. The way FITTR worked historically, and today we are like a 100 crore company from a 90,000 rupee business. And a lot of people didn't believe that, this company would become like this kind of a company, but it did. And it is testimony to the fact that as humanity devolves because of all the things that's happening around the world, and we are a trust deficit society, trust will become more and more valuable and more stronger commodity. So I'm not really selling you a product.
Yeah.
I'm selling you trust. You're not buying my product. You're buying trust from me. So when I tell someone, hey, take this thing, this is good for you, they're not even looking at that thing.
Yeah.
They're saying, JC's saying this is good, this has to be good. Right? That's the trust which I've earned over the last 10 years. And thankfully, because of that trust, we have different products which are growing at an amazing rate. How do you maintain that trust? Is by constantly educating yourself and then educating the audience. So the reason I got into biochemistry and physiology and genetics and immunology and pharmacology is because I wanted to understand everything in and out of healthcare.
Sure.
Right now I understand quite a bit about healthcare. And because I understand about healthcare, I understood that there are a lot of gaps. Today, healthcare system in India is not healthcare system. It's a sick care system.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? It does not have trust. It does not have transparency. It does not have accountability. You go to a doctor, ask them, doctor, what's happening with me? I think this medicine might work for me. Can you tell me the side effects? Can you tell me what's going to happen to me in the long term? The doctor will tell you, I don't have time for this. You either go to some other doctor or you become a doctor. That doesn't happen when I ask my CA about my financial problems. He's happy to explain me what's happening. My engineer is happy to explain what's happening in my car. But when I come to my doctor is not explaining it to me. And that's primarily because I know a little bit about finance. I know a little bit about my car. But when it comes to my own body, I know nothing. And so what I want to do is I want to teach people basic biochemistry, teach people basic physiology, teach them about genetics, teach them about pharmacology, so they understand in and out. So doctors don't treat them as fools. They should be able to back and forth arrive at a solution. Because when there's no awareness, when there's no knowledge, the chances of somebody taking you for a ride increases disproportionately.
Yeah.
And we've seen this happening historically. Take any pharma company, they have a history, the whole nexus. You have to break that nexus. And one of the biggest reasons why people, despite their increasing lifespan, because of dependency on sick care and pharma,
Drugs, yeah.
but their quality of life is constantly degrading.
Correct.
We invented insulin. We discovered insulin 100 years back. Has that fixed diabetes? We've been inventing medicine ever since, but we have not been able to treat anything. We've been able to prevent. Sure, vaccines are amazing. Some of these drugs are life-saving. But to think that pharmaceuticals and doctors can make our lives, like the quality of life can improve in the next 50 years, I don't think that's going to happen. Again, this is my personal opinion.
So let's just decode the word biochemistry for public.
Well, biochemistry is an interplay of everything that's happening inside the body. So physiology basically answers the question of, why. Anatomy basically is what? So for example, you have different kinds of organs placed in your body at different places and how they work together. So anatomy is basically what and where. And physiology is basically how and why. Right? And biochemistry answers the how and why.
So the answers to all the
At a surface
diseases.
level, so at a surface level, it's biochemistry. At a more deeper level, it's basically genetics. So biochemistry. So today, all of our pharmacological interventions, they also happen at a very surface level. So we understand certain biochemical pathways, and we try to hack those pathways with the use of medicine. But the reason why they don't fix them is because the root of the problems are not addressed. Okay, so we manage our sickness, we manage our illness with the help of medicine. But I believe in future, with precision medicine 3.0 or regenerative medicine, we would be able to cure those problems. And look, this is where pharma companies might, for the first time in their history, will do something that will actually,
good
do
for
something.
humanity.
I mean, they've historically done a lot of good for humans. I'm not completely demonizing them, but I'm saying for the first time, they'd be able to say, yes, we cured this. So far, they've been able to manage and build dependency. But the day they get into precision medicine, stem cells, regenerative technology and, gene level therapy.
Yes.
When we are able to, edit our genes, like the mRNA medicine which is coming on, it's pretty revolutionizing. That's the thing that can actually take us from sick care to maybe healthcare. Like you'd be able to save millions of lives. But I don't see that now. The current state is more targeted towards building dependence rather than curing problems.
So I think in the current state, I mean, what you're saying is, I don't know if we will be able to see it in our lifetime.
We should be able to.
We should be able
like
to.
With the
Is it
AI?
Is it 10 years from now?
Sure. But see, understand, if such a technology exists, you have to understand that these pharmaceutical companies, they earn billions of dollars of revenues and retention. So for somebody to be able to agree to these kind of things coming in and replacing their entire revenue model, it would require a lot of policy push from government and everything. Because today, all the medicines, they make you dependent for life.
True. Once you're on insulin.
Yeah, and that makes money. If you are able to develop a medicine that fixes you in one shot, nobody makes money. The model breaks, the business breaks. So
I'm happy you said this, because I think the conversation that I'm going to, route now will be that, what if you don't have to spend money on medicines? What if you don't have to do all this? Are you ready to do what JC is teaching the world, right? So JC, I have 5 most controversial studies of all times for you to just help us understand your point of view on that. The first one is very famous one, the Time magazine 2009. Exercise alone won't make you thin. So I have the controversy and I don't want to miss any part of it. That's why it's written with me. This article, based on various studies, claimed that exercise is not very effective for weight loss without dietary control, which we know, but it angered the whole world. Why? And what's your take on this?
No, but it's true. It is absolutely true. But having said this, exercise is the only thing that can increase your lifespan, independent of diet. So when it comes to losing weight and getting thinner, it's mostly your diet, because you're getting thicker because of your diet. So obviously, if you have to get thinner, it'll have to be your diet. But when it comes to improving your lifespan, improving your health span, that can come from exercise alone, even in the absence of diet.
Got it. Controversy number 2.
I have to clarify that just because exercise alone is helpful to improve your lifespan, do not ignore your diet. If you take them together, the benefits that come from both of them combined far outweigh the benefits that come from either of them. Either of them will never ever be able to make up for the two of them together. So like 1 + 1 suddenly becomes 11, Yeah.
So diet and exercise both together.
Combine them together.
Controversy number 2, the fat but fit paradox, which is the controversy says that some studies suggested that individuals with obesity but with high cardiorespiratory fitness could be as healthy as normal weight individuals. But the later studies refuted this, calling the concept misleading and harmful.
Yeah. I don't think that's true. Because any amount of visceral fat, and visceral fat is an active tissue in the body, right? So
help us understand visceral fat. Most of the people don't understand this.
Right. So in your body, you have different kinds of fat, right? So you have subcutaneous fat, which is the fat under your skin, and visceral fat, which is fat around your organs, right? So which basically comes, how do you say it? So
what foods do you eat for your visceral? Because somebody may look very thin, but they are not. They may be having visceral fat.
Yes.
They feel they're not eating. They feel they don't have any vices, but then the reports talk about it.
Yeah. So visceral fat comes due to various reasons. The biggest reason would be lack of exercise, then excessive DNL. Okay. So again, without getting into nitty-gritties of DNL, it's basically your poor eating habits, not eating adequate amount of protein, not eating adequate amount of vitamins and minerals, not taking good care of your liver.
How do you take good care of your liver?
Don't drink.
Who's going to listen, JC?
That's up to them. See, my job is to tell people whether they listen or not. That's not my...
What is the moderation? If we were to just...
Moderation.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's a moderation.
I don't drink at all.
Don't drink it.
You mean 1 glass of wine is also going to be impacting?
It's not going to be helpful. It would more likely harm than do any good for you.
Keeping other parameters in mind of your lifestyle.
Yeah. Like if I have to say somebody without wine and someone with wine who would end up living longer, in theory, someone who's never drunk in his life would end up living longer. Again, this is theoretical. People could die of several reasons, right? But to not drink is always more healthier than to drink.
So how to fix the visceral fat issue, which is common?
So one is exercise. Second, use the right kind of diet. Do not consume trans fat. Do not consume junk food. Stay lean. All of these things can fix visceral fat. And if you have visceral fat, see, if you are overweight, there's a good chance that you have a lot of visceral fat. And visceral fat is is active. So like how cancer cells, right? So this is active and it can spread around different organs. So this is what we refer to as ectopic fat accumulation, and it can go from one part to another and can end up in your arteries, can end up in, different organs, can, affect your pancreas. So it can create a whole lot of problems, and most of the problems can in some manner be tied back to your visceral fat actually. So insulin resistance, fatty liver, diabetes, cardiovascular issues, all of them can be tied back to visceral fat and to some extent.
And amazingly, this is something which is happening with young people. You have 22, 23, 24-year-olds coming who may look very aesthetically good, but then visceral fat is up.
Yes.
So what is that one thing you would say start doing from tomorrow, which is an easy thing for people to adopt?
Yeah. I think if you go to a gym, they'd be able to do a BMD test. And it's not DEXA, but it's still pretty good. So that should be able to tell you your visceral fat and your fat percentage and how much fat you're storing where. So try to get that number in place. And I think the gym will cost you like 500 rupees for such a test. Take that test. If you are able to afford, then get it extra. We are setting up at DEXA here. So get it extra done once in a year. And DEXA would be able to tell you accurately how much visceral fat and which area and everything, right? So get it extra done. And then start focusing on exercising. And exercising, I'm saying, do more of lifting, less of marathons.
Yeah.
And then focus on your protein intake, green vegetables, all of these. And maybe just the blood tests every few months. I'd say once you have turned 30, you have to do 1 or 2 blood tests every year. Not comprehensive, maybe you can do to establish a baseline, but at least important test every 6 months, to assess if everything is working fine in your body.
Which are these important ones?
There's long list, in terms of tests, you have like 4,000 plus parameters in the body.
Yes, it's very daunting now.
Right.
If you ask me also, it's very daunting.
So we have tried to fix this problem. So if you upload any report on FITTR app, it will be able to tell you if these tests are enough or you need more tests. So we've classified them in essential, non-essential, so that way. So it can tell you exactly which tests need to be done to basic bare minimum. And when they need to done also, that can also be told.
Standard blood work is also good, like you at least understand.
A standard blood work will not suffice because you have to also understand your organ health. Okay. How's your kidney doing? How's your liver doing? How's your heart doing? So organ-specific tests are needed.
Yeah. Especially for population who are otherwise having a good time on weekends. This is much required. So JC, the next controversy is HIIT may impair mitochondrial function cell metabolism study. This is the latest one that we could find. So the controversy in 2021 spoke about the research indicated that too much high-intensity interval training might reduce mitochondrial health and glucose tolerance. What's your view?
The problem with these kind of studies is like, I have to know exactly what kind of study, where are they published, are these observational studies, what was the methodology, what were the people's diets, how are they making these conclusions, right? So until I figure all of that out, and based on my understanding of HIIT, based on several meta-analysis that we have, I don't think people need to worry about these kind of one-off studies. So typically what I tell people is if there's only one study or 2 studies, don't pay too much attention. Look at systematic reviews, look at meta-analysis, and then form your opinion. Because every year, 1 million studies are published.
Correct.
Can't pay attention to each and every one of them. You'll have the same study, same year. Some study will tell you intermittent fasting will kill you. Some will say it will cure your cancer. Can't pay attention to all these things. That's not how science moves it. It moves gradually. So that's why I focus on systematic reviews, meta-analysis. Right.
The next one, exercise in a pill. This is Harvard and Salk Institute, multiple studies. Controversy, scientists worked on compounds like, this is daunting, GW501516 and SR9009 to mimic exercise benefits without actual movement. So this was landmark groundbreaking for immobile patients. But then this broke the hearts of all the trainers and ethicists because now you're saying that you just do this, you don't need to move your body.
See, exercise in a pill has been around for some time. When people say, hey, look, what does exercise do? And people like, look, exercise builds muscles, right? In a way. So what we're looking at is the secondary outcomes, which are visual eyes can see, and not really what else is happening inside the body.
Correct.
Right. So when we say, exercise is building muscles, I can develop myostatin inhibitors, for example. Myostatin is a gene that basically blocks your, muscle building. And people who have myostatin deficiency, you would have seen those jacked up bulls and dogs and cats. So they have myostatin deficiency, right? So you can develop myostatin pills and selective inhibitors, and actually you can build muscles infinitely or to the point where you'll blow up, right? They're dangerous. But the thing is, that's basically, it's almost like, you're building muscles in a cancerous form. And that muscle that you're building is not functional muscle. Okay?
Explain me that.
When you use a part of your body. It's not just one part of the body that you're moving. It's not just your muscle. It's your muscle. It's your fascia. It's your neuromuscular system, because every movement becomes part of your synapses, and over a period of time, your body gets better at it. Right? So bodybuilders, even though they have large muscles, all of those muscles are not functional muscles. They are great for display, but not necessarily useful for athleticism. Right? Because if that were true, we'd have bodybuilders and a footballer. Yeah, we'd have footballers, jacked up footballers, but they're not, right? So just looking at the secondary outcomes and not really what exercise is doing in your body, we'll always make wrong kind of drugs. Okay, so this exercise in a pill, or let's say a diet in a pill, which we already have, they are looking at secondary outcomes. Okay, look, when somebody diets, they lose weight. All right. So they made a pill. Sure enough, if we force people to eat less, they'll be able to lose weight. And that's what's happening with people who are taking semaglutide. But because they are looking at secondary outcomes, when someone actively diets down, their mind gets stronger. They build discipline.
Correct.
They eat right. They learn to portion control. They learn to eat their greens. They learn to eat their protein. Here, if they eat more, they puke. And they've become dependent on a drug for life, which has not been tested for a long duration. And they have no guidelines to get off this drug safely. Right? So, surely. See, these kind of things sell. But this is what we refer to as, a crime against common sense, crime against wisdom. And we commit this every single day. Like we know that great things don't come in a bottle. Your health is not something that you can eat, swallow, or inject. It has to be earned over a period of time. How otherwise, if that were then there's no reason for humans to feel bad when robots replace them, and the likelihood.
I'll add another adjective to it, delegate. That's something you can't even delegate. Whatsoever money you have, you can't hire the best of the traders and take care of my body.
No. Find me an example where it has been done. Find me an example where somebody took myostatin inhibitors and it made their life better. Find me somebody who in their 70s or 80s said, anabolic steroids were the best thing I ever did. And I can put this in writing that even though people might find these semaglutide and other drugs helpful in the short term, nobody who's taken them for a longer period of time would live long enough to say these drugs were a good decision.
Correct.
Anabolic steroids were in the market 40 years. Nobody listened to the plea of people who were suffering. Then one fine day they woke up and let's ban it because the side effects started coming out.
So actually you're abusing your body.
What you should have done using your willpower, now doing it with the help of an injection. When you use your mind, when you use your willpower, even if you take smaller steps, the benefits that come from taking that small step and convincing yourself, hey, I'm going to do the right thing every single day, that has magical effects on your body. You bypass that process and you force your body to puke if you eat more. It's not going to end well.
Yeah.
How crazy it sounds, it's not going to end well. So no matter how much people try to pitch this as a miracle pill or think that this pill is going to make them beautiful and lean and thin. Sure, you'll become thin, but you'll not be healthy.
Correct. And that difference needs to be known. This brings me to the next one, which is spot reduction, the very famous myth. Multiple studies, right?
Sure.
So the controversy is many believed you could burn belly fat. There's actually a very famous thing that 1,000 crunches equal to 6-pack. Stone arms with dumbbells. Decades of research prove fat loss is systematic, not location-centric. Please throw some light on this.
Yeah, you can't build fat, you can't burn fat from a specific area.
But you would be getting so many inquiries of people coming to your app also and saying that, hey, I just want, belly to be fixed or my arms to be.
Yeah, it was very difficult for us to educate people early on when we started educating them. Luckily, now people have gained that kind of knowledge. So that instances of people coming and asking, I just want to reduce my belly has gone down significantly. So there's awareness.
So somebody who has inflammatory problems. Now, I am actually moving towards the thing that has been made famous related to the allergies in the body and
Inflammatory diet. Right.
Yeah, that's a new fad.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it a fad because there are a lot of people who have come and said, "Hey, I lost 14 kgs, but are you going to continue?"
Yeah.
And end of it, maybe the marketing is different. Maybe the we human beings are slaves to variety and new things. We like to do new things. We like to be, in the momentum.
Yeah.
And that's where marketing plays a very important role.
It does.
Having said that, I have looked at those diets and all I see is remove sugar and carbs. And when I tell this to people, they're like, what? I've got 15 kgs. Okay. So just see what you have done and you got to continue this.
Yeah.
So I am trying to tell you, and you please help me in telling the world, it's nothing but carbs and sugars that are to be treated in your dietary.
Yeah. So people consume a lot of carbohydrates, refined sugar, and fats, right? Nobody over consumes protein because at least I haven't come across, because protein also has like we wouldn't say higher satiety, but it's very difficult to obtain also. And generally, protein-rich foods in general have higher satiety.
Yes.
Right? So people tend to overconsume carbohydrates and fats, especially Indians. And it's not just carbs alone. I always tell people it's not just carbs alone. If you consume fats in excess, if you consume carbohydrates in excess, fats first and then carbohydrates later will get stored in your body eventually. When they get stored in your body, you will produce more visceral fat. And that visceral fat is the genesis of all the problems. And then visceral fat itself is inflammatory. So it releases pro-inflammatory cytokines, right? So that can lead to low-level inflammation in the body. Over a period of time, when people eliminate carbohydrates and fats and go on hypocaloric diets, what they are basically doing is they are producing, their visceral fat. They're losing weight.
Correct.
And if you're losing weight, that reduces your visceral fat and it reduces your inflammation. Right? So you're basically anti-inflammatory diet as any diet which can put you in calorie deficit and makes you lose weight. But do it right. Because when you don't do it right, there's a chances that you lose that weight and immediately after you go off of it, it will come back stronger. And stronger. And there's a good chance that you'll keep on putting more weight than what you lost last time.
And I've seen people getting so depressed, changing your clothes. Now, then getting into that mode of depression is so depressing. So depressing. Just getting into the mode of depression because. So this brings me to almost the concluding section, but this is most important because everything that I'm going to ask you is something which is very well, completely researched questions on what people really want to know, and very basics, very simple, but I'm very sure when you will give your 2 lines, short message on these questions, I think it will help somebody watching it, and that's the intention. So, these are top 15 fitness myths the internet can't stop asking. And you have no idea, I will take a lot of time to tell you if I were to tell you how many times recurringly each question has been asked. There's so much of information, but still when you are going through that problem now, that problem becomes so big that you want to now find an answer. Otherwise, the world is moving. So that's what is happening. So the first is, how much coffee in a day is good?
Coffee has caffeine. Caffeine can affect your adrenal system. It can cause adrenal fatigue if not controlled, right? So having 1 or 2 cups of coffee before midday is good to have. But if you take too much of it, if you have too much caffeine, it is going to affect your sleep, and sleep should not be messed with.
Correct. So what should be the cutoff of coffee?
You can have 1 to 2 cups of coffee, but take it before 12 p.m.
Before 12.
Yeah, don't take it afterwards. Otherwise, it will start affecting your sleep.
And this is going to come on the podcast as JC recommends. So I'm just
and these are my recommendations.
Yes.
Not like universal facts.
Sure. Should you gym train and cardio same day?
I would suggest you to keep cardio and gym training session or resistance training session separately because there's something known as the interference effect. And cardio targets your body in a different manner. Weight training targets your body in a very different manner. So on one side, you're focusing more on your type 1 muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Here you're working on type 2 muscle fibers. Both have different mitochondrial density, both have different functions, and both have different consequences in the body also in the long run.
I've seen people doing morning cardio and evening weight training.
I mean, that's fine if you have the time. Otherwise, if you are like a one-time person, I'd say 5 times at least train in weight training, and 2 times in a week, maybe you can do your cardio, which does not necessarily have to be running on treadmill. It could be cycling, it could be swimming, it could be a sport, it could be anything. But 5 times a week, I would generally recommend keep a 45-minute weight training session.
Is it true you need to work out every single day to get results?
Not really. I mean, you can get benefit from as less as working out like 3 times in a week.
Really?
Yeah.
And that is doable.
It's doable, and not more than like 30 minutes per day. But if you advance, if you graduate, move on to 5 days, 5 days is better than 3 days. I would go ahead and say 7 days is better than 5 days, given that you track your recovery and adjust the intensity accordingly. Like, don't go 100% on all 7 days. Some days it's 30%, some days 40%, some days 100%, some days 80%, some days 20%. So if you are able to modulate the intensity, you can work out all 7 days and get great results.
Sure. That's why they say that fitness, you become slave to a routine. If you want to be fit.
Yes.
If you have a routine.
Yeah.
I heard you saying somewhere that I have a heavy work day, I am traveling. What do people, busy professionals do when they are traveling to keep that routine, because you don't have your trainer, you don't have your gym.
Yeah.
What do people should
you can work out in a 2x2 space, but just doing like push-ups, jumping squats, jumping lunges, plank, 15-20 minutes, you're done. So don't say no just because you are traveling or doing whatever. Like you brush your teeth, take a shower, you eat. Exercise shouldn't be that difficult. You should be able to do that in a small space without any equipment also.
Correct.
Yeah.
It needs to be a part, the way you said these are our rituals. So
yeah,
it becomes a ritual.
Yeah.
Will lifting weights actually make women look like bodybuilders?
Oh God, no. It won't.
Still people are researching this question.
It does not, unless until you take drugs, in which case it affects you at a hormonal level. Because if you start taking testosterone, you start becoming more of men. Similarly, if men start taking more estrogen, they start becoming more feminine. That's how sex change operations are done, right? So unless until you are taking, these anabolic drugs, you will not turn into bulky bodybuilder.
Thank you for saying this.
So every bodybuilder out there who looks bulky and like masculine and, have male-like characteristics, there's a good chance that they have elevated testosterone levels. And that does not happen because of weight training.
Correct.
It's your hormonal mess up, and there's a chance that you've probably taken some drugs.
Is cardio the only way to burn fat fast?
No, cardio is the worst way to burn fat.
Fast is the word.
Yeah, worst way. Don't do that. Don't use cardio as a tool to burn fat. Sure, cardio burns fat in a short term, but your body works on a principle of depletion and super compensation. So when you lose fat through stress, and cardio and weight training and any exercise is a type of stress,
yes,
your body also replenishes that at a time when you're relaxing. So if you burn fat while doing cardio, the body will try to recompensate it when you're resting. So you're not losing fat while doing cardio. You're basically telling your body to store more fat when you're relaxing.
Oh my God.
I know. It comes as a surprise, and sometimes people can't wrap their head around this. The more cardio you do, the more predisposed you are to storing more fat. That's why I said depletion and supercomposition. It's a basic principle. That's how your body maintains homeostasis. Any kind of exercise is a type of stress. Any kind of fuel that you burn during stress, the body will try to recover that fuel first during times of rest. So if you burn fat doing cardio, the body will try to recover fat when you're resting. That depends on your calories, but at least the propensity to store more fat will be there.
Let's say this is the command that you're giving your body.
Yes,
Say that.
yeah, and it will execute that command when it has the resources.
Does eating fat literally make you fat?
You'd have to be in calorie surplus. Fat is definitely very easy to store if you overconsume your calories, because dietary fat to triglyceride conversion is pretty easy. And carbohydrate to triglyceride conversion is more difficult, very difficult. Protein to fat conversion is even more difficult. Almost, you can say, in normal conditions, it's almost impossible. Right? So yeah, it's easy if you overconsume. Like if you have a set calories and if you consume more fat, so the over and above, you will definitely store fat more easy.
This includes the trans fat.
Any kind of fat.
Any kind of fat.
Yeah, any kind of fat.
Yeah. Can I lose my belly fat just by doing more crunches?
No, you'd have to be in calorie deficit. Doing belly crunches can build muscles, but you won't be able to see those muscles unless you lose fat. And for that, you'd have to be in calorie deficit.
If I'm drenched in sweat, does that mean I had a killer fat burning workout?
Sure, you had a great workout, but does it mean that you are building more muscles? Or was it a really optimized workout? Not necessarily, but it definitely shows your effort, but it's not like sweat burning fat. That's not what it signifies. If you work out in a AC gym and you're working out and you're not sweating, that does not mean that you didn't have a good workout.
Less.
Right? So just by turning off and on the air conditioner, you can think that, oh, you worked hard, but
maybe you just got a little more dehydrated.
That's pretty much it.
Losing more salts. Yeah. Is skipping meals a shortcut to weight loss or just a disaster waiting to happen?
That's crash diets. It's going to affect your behavior. It's not sustainable in the longer run. It will cause fatigue. It will cause dehydration. It will make you hate your life. It will make you hate dieting. It will make you think dieting and training and getting fit is a punishment, and you are great the way you are. And you will stop listening to people like me also, who will try to put you on the right way. So don't do that. This is a disaster in the making. Do not go for shortcuts. Do not go for crash diets. Do not skip your meals. Talk to someone who can tailor a plan. The best plan is the one that you're comfortable on, and you still lose weight and get stronger and fitter.
Can I just eat whatever I want if I'm hitting the gym regularly?
Yeah, absolutely no. Like, the two are not even same. Like, gymming is not a solution to eating whatever. Yeah, it's not a solution to eating whatever. Gym does not work a lot of calories. People have this misconception that working out burns a lot of calories. It does not. And even if it does on day 1, by day 38, it will burn like 20% less. By end of the year, it will maybe burn 50% less, because your body gets more efficient at doing the same thing. That's how you become stronger. That's how you become faster and leaner.
Yeah.
Because your body is becoming efficient. So when you say your body is becoming efficient, what exactly is becoming efficient? Those metabolic pathways that first required more ATP, now they require less amount of ATP. And where's the ATP coming from? Food, right? Calories. So when people say, oh, I'm walking 10,000 steps, I must be burning 300 calories. Sure. Maybe when you did it for the first time.
Yeah.
100 days in a row, you're probably burning 150 calories.
And that is also the very reason that, and is the genesis of the thought that workout should always be planned. The way your body is getting stronger, you will need progressive workout plan.
Yeah, you need progressive overload.
Which will need you to understand that an expert needs to be with you.
Yeah, but see, you cannot do that infinitely. Like, you can make workout plans tougher and tougher, but there's going to be plateau.
Yeah.
Right. So that even if you keep on making it impossible and difficult, your body will still catch up and become efficient at that. Right. So that cannot solve for your food problems.
True.
The food is separate. Like I said, exercise is not a solution to I can eat whatever. That's like a bad route to go to. Don't do that. Yeah.
Are high protein diets secretly damaging my kidneys?
Not until you have pre-existing renal conditions, not until the protein is adulterated, not until it contains contaminants, which is a genuine problem, by the way. Protein in general, from the foods that you're consuming, it's safe. If you're taking it from lean meats, if you're taking it from dairy, if you're taking it from legumes, cereals, it's pretty safe. If you're taking it from supplements, you have to watch out for like lab tests and stuff. And in India, 70-80% of the supplements are fake. Right? So that's a big challenge. So that's why we don't endorse any supplements, because you can't trust supplements in India.
What they're putting inside.
What they're putting inside, you can't trust. Right? So if you are getting genuine supplements, which again, I don't have any idea how to figure out genuine supplements. If you're finding genuine supplements, proteins, go ahead, consume them. But I would still say, first, try to obtain that protein from your food. And it's not that difficult.
Yeah. Do those trendy fat diets really work better than normal food?
No. It's like Nepo kids in Bollywood. They can't replace the OGs.
Oh, wow. Nice. Yeah, very well said. So is it dangerous for people over 50 to lift weights?
No, it's actually much needed, because, once you hit a certain age, you start losing your muscle mass. Something what we call as age-associated sarcopenia. Right? So, and when you lose mass, see, muscles also support your bones.
Yeah.
So practically your musculoskeletal system is what makes you capable to stand straight and do your chores and, do whatever you have to do. And if your muscles become weaker, that means your bones will have to do what your muscles were helping in doing. So you lose not just muscles. With muscles, you also lose bone mineral density. And your chances of getting fractures and injuries become substantially higher, because now your bones are experiencing higher load and muscles were helping them. And so if you lose muscles, the risk of injuries become much higher, especially in older age. So you have to lift weight to make sure that you maintain your bone mineral density, maintain your muscle mass.
And India, on an average, is a young country for sure. But then in the time to come, we will have a lot of older people.
Yeah.
Do you have special programs on your app for 50 plus people?
So our primary 80% of our customers are 35 to 80.
80?
Yeah.
You have somebody like 80 who's...
Yeah. A lot of people. Wow. So people basically give programs to their parents.
Okay. Is heart disease only a problem for all people?
No. It's a problem for anyone. You could be a kid, you could be an adult, you could be an athlete, you could be an old guy. Lifestyle associated heart diseases are usually in people who have poor lifestyle, and it affects older people. But then there are heart diseases which could be genetic. For example, HCM, that a lot of people don't know about.
What is that?
So hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a genetic condition. It's a kind of a autosomal dominant gene disease that passes from your parent to your kids, and there's a 50% chance. So
okay,
yeah, and surprisingly, in India, the prevalence of this disease is pretty high. So I think roughly 70 million people in India
really
are at the risk of HCM.
I didn't have a clue about this number.
Yeah. So surprisingly, I also came to learn about it very recently.
So you mean all the deaths which are being blamed on the gyms or high cardio could also be possible that these are genetics?
Yes, very high chance, because HCM is one of the genetic condition. Then you have Brugada syndrome, and then you have like different kinds of genetic.
I've never seen anyone talking about it. Like even
because genetics is a very new field, and that's why I also did my genetics recently. And we have not focused. Like I said, see, today we are still working in the realm of biochemistry and pharmacological interventions. They are primarily revolving around biochemistry.
Right.
So we haven't gone down to genetic levels yet.
Correct.
So if somebody has a HCM, if somebody has, let's say, a Brugada syndrome or any of the 6,000 odd genetic conditions that can affect your heart.
How do you find that, by the way? Like if I need to find out if I'm going to get?
Yeah, you'll have to do exome testing. So it's your gene and part of the gene, the coding region.
I can do it in any place.
You should ask them if they do like a exome testing, And if they can locate the genes, they can also name the genes. They can also find out trait of the genes. So it all has to be there in your gene report. If they're not giving you that, just telling your risk is this, they're basically matching your swab with the existing chip, and they're just running, and that's like nonsense. That's nonsense.
Would you like to have something like this?
Gene testing is very expensive. I think so. Just doing one exome, full sequencing, it can easily cost like 30, 40, 50,000 rupees. For most people, it's unaffordable. And the sequencers are also very expensive. So every time you like for blood test, for example, you get a hemolyzer, 15, 20 lakhs, and the reagents are very cheap. Right? So you get a blood test done at like a few $100. But a gene technology, because you're talking about still like north of some 500 billion genes, even in exome. Humans we have almost 6 billion plus genes, so 3.5 million plus base pairs. So exome is like still 500 million odd. So 500 million odd genes, you have to sequence them, go through them one by one. So these are the job of sequencers, and then identify abnormalities in these. So we call them SNPs and variants. Right. So you have to.
Do you see scope in India for this to happen?
Sure. I think top 1% people who can afford, they should do gene testing from legitimate places.
Sure.
Yeah. And especially if you have a familial history, if somebody in your family died because of some sort of a condition, it's imperative that you do, because it can also affect your kids.
So could it be just a marker for someone to understand that if there is heart history or death caused due to heart attack, cardiac arrest, it's an indicator for you to quickly change your
anyone in your close family, in your distant family has gone through a heart attack or any condition which is not explained by the doctors.
Yeah.
Which could be an anomaly of the heart or something that they are not able to point out. It's not lifestyle related.
Yeah.
Or happened in somebody who was relatively fitter.
Yeah.
That is basically, so I would suspect that if somebody's fit, their heart, if it is giving out, it's very good chance that it's primarily due to genetic condition. Right? So in that case, you should definitely get yourself evaluated, because these conditions, sometimes they also skip generations. So you could be carrier. So just because you don't have it, your parents had it. So just because you don't have it, you might be a passive carrier, but you'll pass it on to your kids and they might have it. Right? So, and it spreads. It spreads. These genetic conditions are crazy. And so as we keep moving from like high level interventions to genetic level interventions, I think these things will become affordable. Awareness is definitely not there, but it should come in times to come.
Well, thank you for explaining this so well. I think this should definitely answer so many queries related to I am fit, I'm doing everything, but still.
Yeah, definitely genetic. Yeah, definitely genetic condition.
The longer I spend at the gym, the better the results, right?
I mean, technically you are breaking your muscles in the gym, building them when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Both has to go hand in hand.
Sure. Is being overweight just about being lazy or lacking willpower?
I think it's poor hygiene. Because then
hygiene of food or hygiene of
hygiene. It's hygiene. Like I personally look at your body weight as hygiene. For example, I take care of my face, I wash it, I brush my teeth, I comb my hair, I apply moisturizer, I apply sunscreen, whatever. I'm wearing good clothes. I mean, not me. I'm
taking care of my car, taking care of my body, everything.
But I'm not taking care of my body, right? So it's basically, I'm not taking care of my personal hygiene. I mean, I'm making it look good from outside, but it's definitely not good from inside. So this is basically and it's something which is deep rooted in Indian culture. You go out in villages, you go out in places, cities, people will sweep their houses and they will conveniently move the garbage to a remote place.
Yeah.
Somehow thinking that now my place is clean. Bahar ganda ho raha hai, koi problem nahi. So in a similar manner, as long as my exterior is clear, I feel that this is hygiene. What I'm putting inside, I'm dumping crap inside my body. That somehow for me feels like dikh nahi raha hai to ganda nahi hai. So as long as my house is clean, It's whatever is happening.
दिखने तो लगता है ना.
दिखता है.
If you are drinking every week and having
It shows up.
time
It
and
shows
you're
It shows.
I think the youngsters should definitely, not that I am very old, but then I'm saying, the 20-something should take it very, very seriously
They should.
to their heart
Yeah.
and to their spine
Yeah.
if they are overweight.
Yeah.
Not that we are body shaming, but it's about, as you said, that,
It's going to open up a lot of problems for you in the future.
yes.
And I'm sure that, a lot of people will say, take this drug, take that drug. Rest assured, those drugs will not eliminate 100% of the problems.
Correct.
An overweight person, when they try to lose weight, they will always end up with loose skin.
Yeah.
Which also becomes a very big problem for them. Like, it affects their confidence through their entire life. And then they go through series of, tummy tucks and all those things, which leave scars, which can also affect their confidence. So I'm saying, do not become unfit if you have a choice.
Sure.
Don't do that. Resist being fat, resist being overweight if you can, because even if you try to fix it, you won't be able to fix it 100%. It will always have problems.
Sure. The last.
Sure.
And most asked, is pre-workout good?
The poison.
The poison, yes.
Right. So look,
That makes you feel like a lion when you're working out, but then is it good?
It can certainly affect your adrenal glands, right? So, like I said, and it's true. Because what happens when you take pre-workout, you're giving your body like, 100, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and that's quite a lot for your system to handle. You get this sudden jolt of wakefulness, but it's also affecting your adrenal glands. So over a period of, in the long time, it's not good for you. And I used pre-workout.
Okay.
Okay. So what I do is I go on pre-workouts, and then, and then I go off them, and then I start feeling good. And then, then I go back to them. So sometimes it's like, but I'm getting a good workout, and that good workout eventually will overcome the bad effects of caffeine, right? So I try to rationalize. I'm not very proud of using it, and but I do use it. I have to be open and honest with you. I use pre-workout from time to time. Like currently I'm off it, but I would probably start again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
When you plan to achieve something or bulk up or something like that.
I don't bulk.
No.
But it's very difficult to work out without pre-workout.
That's what people are asking. That, you need that motivation. I just left my boss in my office and I'm in the gym, and now I have to, do more hard work here. Physically, mental hard work has happened in the office. Now I have to do, so there has to be some motivation.
So what I do, and again, I'm not saying this is the best thing. The best thing is if you don't need a pre-workout, if you don't have a habit of
somebody has tasted that power that comes with that caffeine shot.
So you have to go off it for some time. Okay. Don't increase the dose. Don't increase the dosage. Body is amazing at fixing things. It can't adapting things, fixing things. So give your adrenal glands some time to recover. Okay. Do not go from 50 to 100 to 200 and 300. I've never gone beyond 150.
Sure.
Right. And then once I'm off it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'll still feel even with a smaller dosage. Yeah.
This happens to be with coffee,
Yeah.
So I go completely off coffee.
Yes.
And at that period, I will start not liking myself.
Yeah.
And you will not believe, JC, whatever I'm doing, because my coffee time is fixed.
Yeah.
Understand the body clock. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Seeing time, somehow my mind will make me look at my... It has happened so many times. I'm like, this is my coffee time, and I've told that person not to give me. And now my mind is there. Coffee aa rahi hai. Nahi aa rahi hai. I'm off it. So I just go on black tea just to fool and hack.
Yeah, I've
somehow my eyes that ye coffee hai.
I've tried that.
But it works,
Yeah, it does. It does.
बड़ा जिद्दी है दिमाग. तो वो जिद को थोड़ा सा manipulate करना पड़ता है.
Yes. And that also builds your willpower, so it's okay.
Yeah. The last question, JC, weight gain. There are so many people who are actually wanting advice on how to gain weight the right way.
it's pretty much the same process of losing weight. You just have to do.
But उनका होता नहीं है.
I know because they don't follow it diligently. You ask them to eat more, they'll like, yeah, instead of 2 chapatis, I started eating 4 chapatis. But that's
I got a feedback कि वो खा ही नहीं सकते.
Huh. So, see, you can't fix things in one day.
Yeah.
And they want to gain weight also in one day. That is not possible. So first, if you're trying to lose weight, losing weight is still convenient, compared to gaining weight. Gaining weight, and because you're gaining muscles, you don't want to just gain a tummy. Because what happens with a lot of people who are lean, they think they'll eat more and they'll eat more and they will have a higher weight. The weight comes in their tummies.
Yes.
The arms, everything is the same. So you don't want to gain tummy, you want to build muscles, and muscle building is time consuming. So yearly you'll build like 3 kgs, 4 kgs if you're new. Over a period of time, you'll build even less. Right? So you have to be very careful. Gaining weight can be tricky, but it's achievable in a healthy and a nice manner for a long-term benefits.
So what are you suggesting? Like instead of having 6 chapatis,
You work with a coach. Work with a coach. Yeah, work with a coach. That's always better, and work with a coach for a long term. Because otherwise you'll end up messing yourself.
True.
People who have become fat and then trying to become thin, some damage they have done to themselves, but they can still come back to like 80-90% recovery. But if you're lean as in skinny fat, and you want to gain weight, you have a lot of things going for you.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess that process because there's a lot of potential of how good you can become.
Correct. It's a good head start.
It's a good head start because unlike most of the people, you are starting at a point where there's no inherent damage.
Correct. This is actually the last question.
Okay. Even there.
Purity.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, a Harvard study says that 150 to 300 minutes of weekly exercise can cut mortality risk up to 31%. I was amazed to look at it.
Yeah.
Why do you think most people still struggle to meet even that minimum?
Like I said, you can't see that in a day. The problem is there's no short-term benefits of exercising besides mood regulation. You can't see the results in a short term.
Correct.
Most people can't think long-term. We've gone down from watching 3-hour-long movies to 5-second reels now. Right? Constantly, dopamine hits. And so exercise does not give you dopamine hits.
I think everything that happens good is always long-term, be it investments or investments.
Yeah. So I think people need to go back to the first principles. Like they don't mess with their money. They think long-term when it comes to their wealth. They have to think long-term when it comes to their health. Right now, they are thinking long-term for their wealth, but very short-term when it comes to their health.
Wonderfully put, JC. Such a nice conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I think you have given a message which is start it and keep at it.
Yes.
Don't leave it.
Yeah, don't leave it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you.